No, that's great, very good. Everything should probably work, so we'll be here. I know it's just going to be very difficult to ensure that everything works with the connection. Everything is okay. But it looks like we can start and well. This is the second attempt at this live stream here. The first one was a bit unsuccessful. I made a small mistake. I don't know exactly what. I hope this time it goes to the future. Let's see. I check in, of course. This live stream is being translated in real time. That means it's being translated by my artificial intelligence, which I have on this computer. And it's like quite an innovative approach to the matter because usually if someone is using translation today, let's say artificial intelligence, then it's on a YouTube platform, there's obviously just a recording available, finished, and the appropriate time will elapse. And usually that time needs to run for quite a while. At least a few hours, so it's a quite innovative approach here with the delay. It's really a small one. It's only just a few seconds. Obviously, you can ask me questions. If you're going to wait for just a few seconds for my answer, then that's really not much. Let's be honest, it's not that much at all. So, it's definitely something very innovative. I hope I won't have such problems as I had before, on your previous live, on the previous attempt. It seems like this time I should be able to avoid it. And what? Let me discuss what's happening in the market. As you can see on bit, we had a slight drop. Quite a lot of people were watching it far too closely. At low intervals, on minute or 5-minute candles, it seemed like here. It was just a scare. It really happened terribly. But actually all this movement was just... At this moment it was slightly above 3.5%. It's really not much, the whole range in which it was. Price range we've been moving in for the last few weeks. He's barely moving from the peak to the trough. Barely exceeding 11% what? That's really very, very little on this hand. You shouldn't definitely accept it. With such movements, such choppy volatility here isn't much. I'll just shift this over as usual. Such a small quick movement. So it's really not much. And you shouldn't be laughing about it. As it stands, it just looks... On liquidating so-called long and short positions on the market, i.e., simply taking liquidity. Simply gathering liquidity. Remember that big players have the biggest advantage. Moving the spot market and derivatives market is the market. Basically, you could say it's like the market god or the market maker, and because those who move the hand from below are not forbidden to bet on the derivatives market. Of course they do, and simply benefit from this, that they see. If someone is betting on a decline, they trigger an upward movement. On the derivatives market, betting against declines, and thus simply win because of it. They simply win very large sums of money. That's why I always said, absolutely not, under any circumstances, don't trade in the market. Imply enter into the cashnas, from which you will not get money. No, because it's simply impossible. It's impossible to get that money back, especially if you stay there for a relatively long time. So as far as I can see, I don't have such hostile communication here. Like I had on my first live stream, so it already makes me happy. And you know, Bitcoin's dominance also looks quite good. We can see here, it's completely crashing, and that's what we want, that is it. We want it to look as bad as possible, not as good, so if it's looking bad. But now it looks bad, so we have something to be happy about. Although so far on the altcoin market, there isn't a strong reversal, a true turnaround. Because the altcoin market always shows an inverse correlation to Bitcoin, but with the notable exceptions, such as today unfortunately. As we can see, this daily candle isn't very enthusiastic, so it probably just reflects that. Because Bitcoin usually dictates altcoins, some have slightly risen, but most have not. Most of them stayed roughly where they were, although if we switch to here they were. Although if we switch to crypto bubbles, as we can see here on crypto bubbles, net, most of the market is red, not very strongly red, because this is probably one of the biggest drops. He noted bands, not some islands of green, but there are very few of them. That cotton belongs to that category. This coin of knowledge recorded some nice growth, plus 24% Dodge beat. Nevertheless, I don't know what this coin is. Let me check it because you can check it here. I never want to do this, and what do we have here? This is a platform. Smart contract based, using proof of stake consensus, so it's the same. Seriously, those guys are intense. Here it's written in this description that and this coin is like combining utility. Bitcoin and Ethereum donors, and just ignore it. For example, let's say members of the Alibaba team. They've worked on Nasdaq and so on. A lot of it doesn't make sense to me without specific examples. Frankly, it's so fragmented like this. Description. There aren't many specific details, let's say, regarding technical differences rather. There aren't many of them. Too much, I'll say. Now, remember that these smart contract platforms are just infrastructures, just like you use an operating system. Like Apple or Microsoft. This is just software. It's not exactly infrastructure. Infrastructure is built after the software. But let me explain it this way. If someone understand technical matters, this is probably just the simplest example. Like, as far as I've seen, that when I switch here to Visual Studio, and how the code of this translating script is executed. So far I haven't noticed any bad comments, Prince. I mean, of course, the logs, not the comments, just the logs to the console. I hope so. Which I initially had. Let me just mute the audio for a moment. As far as I can see so far, it's going quite well. I have to admit, it's going really well. Even this real-time thing is going. Okay, but going back to is the market situation here. The altcoin market isn't looking bad. It's always looking quite having similar characteristics namely that we have higher peaks and higher lows on the price chart. So, at least, as of now, I think we shouldn't. Don't change your outlook. I think we should be optimistic, not otherwise. I believe this territory on this chart should. It's starting to take on a more aggressive dimension in terms of growth, because so far, the trend is bullish and we should slowly start to invest into parabolic movement, which is what we all want. All of this, let's say, this structure. On a larger scale, it looks very impressive, as if we are trying to assess it. Based on this here, yeah, it looks really impressive. It looks amazing. Change doesn't mean it will happen naturally, because something like this could happen, where we say the right side of the chart will sharply drop and will appear as if we have a form here. Formation of the head and shoulders, some might call it a double top. To me, it more resembles. And of course the good ones that the chart is now showing have faded. Let's forget about it completely. He was rotating it against us. However, at the moment, the ball is really very good in the game in our night, and I think we'll be on target. And we're going for the goal to score a goal. That's how I see it. Gentlemen, also it seems like we'll have reasons to be satisfied, such as pretty soon, probably still this month. Damn, I'll tell you, I regret that. This first live stream was unfortunately bad. The second one is really good. The first one was a bit of a tragedy. But it had to be like that. It was really just a trial run, and trial runs sometimes fail and you can't. Unfortunately, I don't have to do anything with this. But it's a trial run, as you can see. It's working out, and that's what it's about. Here we have. Ahead is Zeitdatum, of course. And this is my timeline. Let's see what we have here. Any news today? Any updates? As a matter of fact, I just finished streaming and not much has happened. Generally, mainly, some fairly information. One fairly large sale occurred. Recently on the Bitcoin market, and specifically the one that probably caused this downward movement. It was 24,000 Bitcoins, not dollars, so you need to multiply it. Approximately $100,024 billion in that kind of regime. Yes, $24 billion. That's what would be sold on this market, so definitely. I'll show you the sum meanwhile. As you can see, this market is capable of absorbing so much, even if it was sold in one go. Probably in order to gather liquidity in the derivatives market, because what else? It's hard to see the nuances of such large sales. For the sheer size directly on the market, because that's simply about paying. There are a lot of spreads of so-called derivatives. Therefore, it must be manipulation, which simply serve to liquidate those who were long on the market, placing long positions on high leverage, and their money was simply taken this way. So, yes, unfortunately. Bitcoin, and Jerome Powell said Bitcoin is like gold, but it's digital, and that. A very interesting approach. I don't know when he said that, or if it's a newer or older statement. Regarding those Bitcoin profiles, they really like quoting older statements. I'd even say it's inhabited, and if someone is unfamiliar, they think it's something that happened 5 minutes ago, and here's a report by such a profile. That someone just said that, and unfortunately it's often not true. Michael Saylor is trading Bitcoin again. I quote Michael Saylor saying that he says Bitcoin will absorb $1 million worth. That's possible. Of course it all depends on what happens with the dollar naturally. Again, buy Bitcoin. History Ant writes that Michael Saylor is live on CNBC, saying Bitcoin will grow by 30% annually for the next 20 years. Obviously, this is an average. Even if averaging it out, I'd still put my head in my hands. That's going to be. Bitcoin has a huge amount of competition growing at a terrifying pace. And in 20 years, I'll personally be very surprised if Bitcoin is even recognizable after 20 years. I'll be surprised if Bitcoin still exists, and if it does, the better. And that's a pretty complicated picture, a complicated puzzle. Very many moving parts, in which the case it's about it. It has a variable speed. These elements don't move at a constant speed. It's very difficult to track them all. Variable speed. It's hard to calculate in a reliable way. You need to assemble it reliably. And in real time, rather than shooting from afar. Before that bullet hits, many winds can blow. That's how I see it. Okay, listen. I talked a little about what's happening on the market. A little. Timmy just commented on it on Twitter. Your idea is a needs to update there. Allow me to finish this, as I want to see how it unfolded later. Stream. Let me just check the console to make sure it wasn't displaying incorrectly, but it's fine. They didn't appear this time, so I guess everything is okay. And I need to see if... Let me see if this translation went through correctly and, without any embarrassment. With this real-time translation software. Thanks for your time. Like, subscribe, share, and we'll see each other soon. Goodbye. Talk to you later. Hello everyone.